week 6 of the fantasy football season. Here's a few running backs I looked at on the wire this week. The first guy, Kenneth Walker of the Seattle Seahawks. So we saw Rashad Penny go down here in week 5 with an injury at the New Orleans Saints. And it was a bad one. He was limping and then he was carted off the field here. Obviously an ankle. And I doubt we're going to see Penny for a while and possibly the whole season. So Walker, he was a sleeper coming into the year. And a guy people thought could take over by midseason. And right now with the injury to Penny, he definitely could take over. And we saw what he's capable of with a 70-yard touchdown in this ball game here for Kenneth Walker, finishing with 8 carries, 88 yards and a touchdown. So right now, he's a guy you could slide right into your starting lineup if Penny's going to miss some time here. He's a solid number 2 running back. And next week here, he's got a decent matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals. And he's available in 57% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Benjamin of the Arizona Cardinals. So the Cardinals here, a couple injuries in this one. James Conner going down with a rib injury. He left the game. And Darrell Williams going out with a knee, the backup running back to Conner. So next man up was Benjamin. And we know Benjamin, he has a little bit of a passing role, even with all those guys healthy. But if those guys are out, he's going to see tons of touches. And he has an amazing matchup with the Seattle Seahawks that give up the 4th most fantasy points to running backs on the season. So week 5 here in the expanded role for Benjamin. 8 carries, 25 yards, a touchdown, 3 catches, 28 yards. And right now, he could be a major pickup. Him and Kenneth Walker, the top 2 pickups this week here, if the injuries are serious to Penny and obviously the guys in the Cardinals backfield. And he's available in 91% of fantasy leagues. The next guy is Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Rachaad White, I've mentioned him the last couple weeks here as an ad. And he's starting to get some playing time for this Tampa team. Obviously, he's not going to dethrone Leonard Fournette from the starting job. But if he could get more series, or God forbid something does happen to Fournette, this guy could be a top 15 back weekly if Fournette's out. So the last 2 games, he's seen some playing time, and he's producing his White. Week 4 versus Kansas City, 3 carries, 6 yards, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And week 5 carries, 14 yards, 3 catches, 28 yards. So right here, he's available in tons of fantasy leagues at 66%. And next week, with the bye week starting here, maybe as a flex option, he could be intriguing. What a good matchup at the Pittsburgh Steelers. So right here, Rachaad White available, like I said, in over 65% of leagues. And he's a guy to get this week. The next guy, Dion Jackson of the Indianapolis Colts. So Jackson, he looked good filling in for Jonathan Taylor in week 5 with a good ball game. 13 carries, 62 yards, 4 catches, 29 yards. So Nyheim Hines, he went down early in that ball game with a concussion. And Jackson and Phillip Lindsay took the rest of the work, obviously, in the backfield over there. So right now, he's available in tons of fantasy leagues in 99% of leagues here. And if Taylor's going to miss another game, Jackson will be the starting running back with Lindsay filling in and getting some carries. It was pretty much a 60-40 split in favor of Jackson. And he's got a pretty decent matchup versus the Jaguars in week 6. So if Jackson's going to start, he'll be a decent ad this week on the wire. And besides Walker and Benjamin, it's a lot of guys that you take flyers on and see what they could do. The next running back I looked at is Caleb Huntley, the Atlanta Falcons. So him and Tyler Algier pretty much split carries for the most part in this ball game. So Huntley 8 carries, 34 yards in week 5 at Tampa. In week 4 versus Cleveland, 10 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. So right here, he's available in tons of fantasy leagues. In 86% of leagues here is Huntley. He got the good workload, just like Algier. But it was a tough matchup where there was no way you were going to start him at Tampa Bay. And in week 6, even a tougher matchup possibly versus San Francisco 49ers, where their defense is clicking on all cylinders. But right now, as a guy, he's a depth guy on your bench. And with bye weeks coming up, you never know. Huntley could really break out and take over the role. But right now, it's pretty much a 50-50 split between him and Algier. And I know a lot of people ran out and got Algier over Huntley. But a guy out there in 85+% of fantasy leagues here definitely could be a big ad this week. Running back I look to get on the wire this week's Tevin Coleman of the San Francisco 49ers. I know Jeff Wilson Jr. had a monster game, 17 carries for 120 yards and a touchdown. But Tevin Coleman, he took some work, including a goal line touchdown and caught a receiving touchdown as well. 8 carries, 23 yards, a rushing touchdown, and 3 catches, 44 yards, and a touchdown. So right here, we didn't see much of Deebo Samuel in the backfield as much as we did in other games. And Tevin Coleman, we know he knows the system over there for Shanahan. in the offense, being there a few seasons ago, then going to the New York Jets. But now they bring him back, and they're comfortable as the backup over a Mason, over a Pierce, even when he comes back, and over Marlon Mack. So right now, Tevin Coleman, he saw playing time, and he had a good ball game, and he's a guy to highlight here. I don't think he's going to do this every week, obviously. He scored 21 fantasy points and found the end zone twice, but he had 11 touches in this ball game between carries and receptions, and he's a guy to talk about this week, and he's available in 100% of fantasy leagues. That's a few running backs I look to add on the wire here heading into week 6 of the fantasy football season.